Hey, I'm sitting outside my son's physical therapy, occupational therapy clinic. I've got an hour to kill sitting here in the car. I have a couple children with me in the back, so if there's noise, that's the story of my life. The little baby micro preemies behind me, and in the back is my 5-year-old coloring and munching on some chips. My other two kids are not with me right now, but Caleb, my 8-year-old, has therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy every week. So this is something that's regular for us to drop him off and have time to sit around and wait till he's done. Normally I run errands during this time, but because of the micropremia and her bad immune system, I don't like to take her in buildings. So grocery stores, library, all the places I normally would go, not happening. So I usually just try to stay in the car, and she's sleeping, so it's a good time for me to talk to you. So Caleb, my little guy that's in therapy, this is actually a post about him. 'Cause tomorrow's his birthday. I said 8-year-old, but he's going to be 8 tomorrow, so close enough. But I'm sitting here reminiscing about his birth and figured I would just tell you a little story about him and kind of where this part of me comes from, this kind of strength that I found in my faith and in myself comes from... Hi, Judah. Yeah, just say hi. All right, I told you got to be quiet back there, okay? Eat your chips. It comes from my experience with Caleb. There's a lot of details that I can't share with you right now because it's just too much to say in a post. But I've been working on a book for a while about my experiences with my special babies. My special Caleb, my micro preemie, my little 2-year-old who was born with brain issues, and also my 15-week miscarriage. I'm writing a book about all of those experiences. So it's not done yet, but subscribe, because when it is, I will definitely be telling you it's available. So anyway, a little bit about Caleb. Caleb was it's my third pregnancy. My first pregnancy ended in a full-term baby, healthy, my 11-year-old now, and then I had an early miscarriage after her. But Caleb was conceived shortly after that miscarriage. We really wanted that second baby, and everything was fine until my 20-week ultrasound, when they told me that it appeared that he had a cyst on his brain. Of course, they didn't tell me that during the ultrasound, because they can't tell you that kind of stuff at the hospital if you're just having a regular level 1 ultrasound at a community hospital. This was just like the anatomy scan. She was making a weird face and like kept leaning into the screen and like leaning back, and then she got her supervisor and was like telling me this story about how she couldn't get the right shot of him, like the right view. He was moving around too much or something. And I'm like, that's BS. He's not moving. He's not moving. I can see the screen and I can feel, and he's not moving around in there. So of course I saw my midwife later, and she told me that they thought they saw a choroid plexus cyst, which that's a soft marker for trisomy 18, which is not compatible with life. It's a genetic mutation, I guess. Anyway, so I was freaking out, and then had to go in for a level 2 ultrasound, which is done by a maternal fetal medicine specialist, and they tell you what they see as they see it. So, again, like I said, can't get into too much detail because it'll take way too long for this post, but I went in, I don't know, a week and a half later or so, and saw a maternal fetal medicine specialist. I was like 21 weeks pregnant, and he actually used these words after he scanned me. He said, "What I'm about to tell you is not going to be particularly easy to hear. You don't ever want to hear those words coming out of the mouth of a doctor." But what he proceeded to tell me was that Caleb did have a cyst in his brain, but it wasn't a choroid plexus cyst. He said it was something much more significant, and I was thinking, how the hell does it get more significant than something that could be incompatible with life. I mean, but he explained that a choroid plexus cyst doesn't necessarily mean trisomy 18. It means it's a soft marker. It means that it could potentially be related to that, but it might also be nothing. Caleb's cyst turned out to be in his left occipital lobe, and it was a result of his stroke. So he had a stroke at some point early on in pregnancy that left behind a cyst from where the fluid had been trapped. And then what he also saw was a few other things that didn't look right. He said he could not locate the corpus callosum, which is the part that connects the two hemispheres of your brain. So it's like the divider between the sides, and it sends information from one side of the brain to the other. He said he couldn't locate that. And then there were some other areas that looked not right, but he couldn't see. It wasn't a good, ultrasound wasn't a good picture for that. So he ordered a fetal MRI. I didn't even know they could do a brain MRI of a baby in utero. All right, you have to sit down. So they went ahead and scheduled a fetal MRI and did that for him at 22 weeks. Did a brain MRI, and then they did an amnio just to see if there were any kind of, genetic issues that we didn't know about. Amnio came back fine. The fetal MRI, we did that. We had a consultation with neuroradiology, neonatology, the whole team of people met with us about what his situation was going to be like. And you need to go sit down.
I'm just eating that thing.
And here, you can have this.
I just want to eat that.
When they bother you, throw a device at them and they'll leave you alone. Anyway, so turns out not only did he have the stroke and the cyst, and he did not have a corpus callosum that never formed, so he just is missing that part of his brain completely. But the biggest, most significant issue he has is his left frontal lobe. For those of you who don't know brain anatomy, that's the biggest layer, top layer of your brain. Shh. Okay, well, I don't know, maybe you can play them. Anyway, so your left frontal lobe is the top layer of your brain. It's the biggest one. It's where your eyes connect in the front. His whole left frontal lobe was malformed. The cells were all displaced. They just grew completely wrong. And then his right lateral ventricle, which is a fluid-filled pouch that makes the cerebral spinal fluid that goes up and down your spine, that is misshapen, and we don't know why. But his prognosis was really scary, that he would never walk, he would never talk, probably have to be tube fed. They didn't think he would even have the coordination to be able to suck. They said he would be very simple-minded, even if he could see or hear, which they said there was a chance that he might be cortically blind and deaf, which means your eyes and ears work, but your brain doesn't understand what it's seeing and hearing. They said even if he could see and hear, he'd be very simple-minded. That kind of issue just causes extreme cognitive issues. But most significantly, they expected he would have a severe seizure disorder. I'm taking that back. Give it back to me.
Why?
Because you're not obeying.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So the left frontal lobe issue, and also the agenesis of corpus callosum, that means the absence of the corpus callosum, are very commonly causes severe seizure disorder, and these are the kinds of seizures that don't respond to medication. So we're talking, the only solution would be brain surgery to remove part of the brain that causes the seizures. So really scary situation, but I'm extremely pro-life, and I told the doctor, well, let me know if this is not compatible with life, because I need to know what to expect. I mean, if he can live with this, I need to prepare myself to be the mother to a special needs child. So, months later, I delivered him, and we expected that he would be whisked away, potentially even needing help breathing. I had him at 38 weeks. I was induced. I had no amniotic fluid left for some reason. And he was born pink and screaming. He looked like a normal baby. He was 7 pounds, 6 ounces, 2 weeks early, so good size. acting like a normal baby. Apgars were fine. Everything was normal. They kept him for 6 days in the NICU for observation. They ran an EEG that showed an area of irritability. It wasn't showing any seizures, but that was the only thing. Everything else was normal with him. Blood clotting test, because he had a stroke, that came back normal. Everything was normal. So we really were surprised, and it wasn't a mistake. What they saw really was there in his brain. So things I learned, again, I'm going to look for the book because there's a lot of story. There's so many things that happened to me during this pregnancy that changed me in many ways. Little miracles that I saw. I mean, he and of himself, he's a little miracle. Yeah, he does have problems. Like I said, he's in therapy. He's been in therapy since he was born. But he walked at 15 months. He talks. He has a hard time word finding. He has some behavioral problems, and he's partially paralyzed. He has what they call hemiplegia on his right side. So his right arm and leg don't work very well. He has a brace on his right leg. His right hand is really tight and weak, and he has a hard time using it. He can use it as a helper hand, but it doesn't work as well as a normal kid's hand. But he's smart, and he's sweet, and yeah, he has behavioral problems. Sometimes he gives me a really hard time. He has a hard time coping with emotions, and he's very impulsive, but he's an awesome kid. So anyway, again, when the book is ready, please subscribe so I can tell you when it's ready if you're interested in hearing the whole story. But I got so much out of him, of my experience delivering him, knowing that sometimes you just have to trust in God. You have to just trust that not everything is in your hands, and you just have to go along for the ride and just accept that things aren't always the way that you want them and the way that you envision them, and that's okay, and that God will give you the strength to be the person you need to be. In my case, I prayed and said, God, I'm not asking you to give me the miracle that you're going to fix his brain. I just pray for the strength and the grace to be the mother that he needs me to be. What kind of mother does he need me to be? So it's not always easy. I have a lot of days when I'm like, oh my gosh, it's hard, but we keep on keeping on. He's come so far. So anyway, just learn to let go, learn to accept that things are different in a flawed world, and that special needs kids can have great quality of life. And I'm so grateful that I chose life with him, because I could have been so scared and said, no, I can't do this. I'm not having this baby. And that would have been so unfortunate, because all of the riches that I have from, raising him for 8 years now, on the ways that I've changed and become a better person, wouldn't be like that if I didn't have him. So that's it for right now. This is a nice long video, and I'm sorry again about the fart and burp noises you hear in the background, because Judah thinks that's really funny, but he's keeping himself entertained, so I can't complain. Anyways, God bless, have a great day, and we'll see you soon.